afternoon. My name is Gabriel Sterling. I'm the Voting System Implementation Manager for the state of Georgia. And just to give you all a heads up, this is going to be sort of a two-part press conference today. And at the beginning of this, I'm going to do my best to keep it together because it has all gone too far. All of it. Joe DeGenova today asked for Chris Krebs, a patriot who ran CISA, to be shot. A 20-something tech in Gwinnett County today has death threats and a noose put out saying he should be hung for treason because he was transferring a report on batches from an EMS to a county computer so he could read it. It has to stop. Mr. President, you have not condemned these actions or this language. Senators, you have not condemned this language or these actions. This has to stop. We need you to step up, and if you're going to take a position of leadership, show some. My boss, Secretary Raffensperger, his address is out there. They have people doing caravans in front of their house. They've had people come onto their property. Tricia, his wife of 40 years, is getting sexualized threats through her cell phone. It has to stop. This is elections. This is the backbone of democracy, and all of you who have not said a damn word are complicit in this. It's too much. Yes, fight for every legal vote. Go through your due process. We encourage you, use your First Amendment, that's fine. Death threats, physical threats, intimidation. It's too much. It's not right. They've lost the moral high ground to claim that it is. I don't have all the best words to do this because I'm angry. And the straw that broke the camel's back today is, again, this 20-year-old contractor for a voting system company just trying to do his job. Just there. In fact, I talked to Dominion today and I said he's one of the better ones they got. His family's getting harassed now. There's a noose out there with his name on it. It's not right. I've got police protection outside my house. Fine. You know, I took a higher profile job. I get it. Secretary ran for office. His wife knew that too. This kid took a job. He just took a job. And it's just wrong. I can't begin to explain the level of anger I have right now over this. And every American, every Georgian, Republican and Democrat alike should have that same level of anger. Mr. President, it looks like you likely lost the state of Georgia. We're investigating. There's always a possibility. I get it. You have the rights to go through the courts. What you don't have the ability to do, and you need to step up and say this, is stop inspiring people to commit potential acts of violence. Someone's going to get hurt. Someone's going to get shot. Someone's going to get killed. And it's not right. It's not right. And y'all, I don't have anything scripted. This is, like I said, I'm going to do my best to keep it together. All of this is wrong. DeGenova, who said for Chris Krebs to get shot, is a former U.S. attorney. He knows better. The people around the president know better. Mr. President, as the Secretary said yesterday, people aren't giving you the best advice on what's actually going on the ground. It's time to look forward. If you want to run for re-election in 4 years, fine, do it. But everything we're seeing right now, there's not a path. Be the bigger man here and step in. Tell your supporters, don't be violent. Don't intimidate. All that's wrong. It's un-American. I don't know what else to say on that front. I mean, these are elections. One of our goals was to make elections boring again. Well, guess what? That didn't happen. This is all wrong. It's all too much. And I'll leave that for there. Okay, now, as I said, this will be a bifurcated press conference. Here's the stuff that we want to talk about. It's kind of hard to come back out of that. I apologize. There are 91 counties that have finished. This is going to seem really bipolar at this point, I guess, but 91 counties have finished their recount so far, and so far we see no real anomalies. Everything is going along the lines we would have expected. So I'm going to read off the list now. Appling, Atkinson, Bacon, Baldwin, Banks, Barrow, Ben Hill, Berrien, Bibb, Bleckley, Brooks, Bryan, Bullock, Burke, Butts, Calhoun, Carroll, Charlton, Chattooga, Clark, Clay, Crisp, Dade, Dodge, Eccles, Effingham, Emanuel, Gordon, Green, Habersham, Hancock, Harrelson, Hart, Hurd,
Irwin, Jackson.
Okay, he's just going on with the countdown. Well, you actually have people coming out and saying somebody's going to get shot.
I was just reading that before I got on and saw that. Did you see also the one of the? I didn't know how long you were playing that. Did he mention, or was it part of that, where one of the officials, like in one of the counties, was threatened, saying they should be tried for treason? And the Secretary of State's wife has been sexually threatened.
Yep. Oh, yeah. He also outlawed how Raffensperger's wife has been receiving sexualized threats on her personal phone. So, yeah. Yep. At what point do we have the power? And this is basically what it comes down to. Because we can be as idealistic as we want. At what point do we have the power to hold the people who are saying these things, the rhetoric? At what point are we able to hold them accountable? When does that kick
in? Well, how are you going to hold? You know where it's coming from. The head ass clown. These people are so gullible, and they're following them. They're repeating, the dog whistle or whatever it is. If you catch who's threatening, yeah, you could arrest them, but that's not the root of the problem.
No, it's not. We know who's saying it.
Yeah,
right?
And they deny, well, it's freedom of speech. I didn't tell them to do that.
Well, freedom of speech has responsibilities.
Right, and it's the rhetoric and the hypocrisy I already seen coming from Republicans already, like on that one cabinet pick for Biden, the woman that offended the snowflakes on Twitter. My God. They didn't see anything Trump tweeted the last 5 years? I don't even want to hear it from them.
You had the person, the asshole that called for what's his name to be shot, right? He was a former district attorney, if I'm not mistaken, right? So he knows better. Yeah,
they should. I mean, it's. What I keep getting out of this is you're taking a whole party. I mean, Trump's a poor loser enough, but you have 95% of the rest of that party that's in power are pissed, thinking in the back of my mind, they thought they suppressed enough votes for him to win and didn't do it. They weren't counting on a turnout that big.
Yeah.
And the mail-in ballots is what really did it to them.
and he was the asshole that told all his people, don't do the mail-in ballots.
Right.
Vote. Right?
Yep.
I'm sorry, Frank. I didn't see you pop in.
There's Frank.
I was
Hey.
busy looking something up.
Okay, tongue in cheek though. Here's the thing that gets me. I think what you guys said is absolutely correct about the turnout and everything like that. And my 2 cents on the mail-ins is, even if Trump had told his people to mail in ballots, he'd have gotten any more net votes than what he got. He got the maximum support he was going to get. He got everybody turning out that was going to be a Trump supporter, because they didn't stay away from the polls for COVID. Let's face facts; they don't believe in it. So, but even if they'd stayed home and mailed it, it would have still been the same net number. The other thing that gets me is he's projecting, like Lou was kind of alluding to just a few seconds ago. They tried to cheat, they tried to suppress, they tried to do God knows what. When they start talking about things switching votes and things like that, they probably know that they programmed some of those machines to switch votes the way they wanted to. But the sheer volume of turnout, you can't switch a paper ballot as a mail-in ballot. So, but the thing, tongue in cheek, this is what I was going to get at. If you're not the best at cheating, and we out-cheated you, then you don't deserve to be president either. So you cheated, and we cheated better than you. Sorry, you lose.
So is the crux of your argument, I was out-cheated?
Yeah, right.
Is that it?
Yeah.
Frank, you're right about the end of the number. End of the day, the numbers are the numbers. When you got them didn't matter.
Right.
But it does give a perception, right? He plays on the perception.
Sure.
And when you're gullible enough to follow that,
Right.
to buy into the perception, he's got the people who are willing to fight the battles for him.
Yep.
What do I keep saying over and over and over again? There's 3 simple words, right? Perception is reality.
Yep.
It is. The title of today's episode, which I you know what, I got to quit doing these things ahead of time. I really do. But it's like, all right, I got to do something because I got to get it out there because you got to advertise it a little bit. The title of today's episode was "Can't Believe He's Not Tired of Losing." Right? That's what I called it today. And I'm seeing all these things happen, and I must have entitled it. I must have gave it a name and threw out the thing up on Facebook. I want to say, let's say 1:30, okay, just for grins and giggles. And then I start seeing the news, and I got the little repository we have up there on our Discord channel, so people can see what we're going to talk about today. And I said, "Son of a bitch, they're not challenging anything anymore." Well, guess what? I lucked out because a couple hours ago, CNBC's reporting Trump is going to sue to reverse Biden win in Wisconsin. Right? The suit is going to ask the Wisconsin Supreme Court to nullify and withdraw Governor Tony Evans' certification of the election. The lawsuit seeks to invalidate more than 221,000 ballots in the state's 2 most Democratic counties. 2 most Democratic counties. We see a theme here, folks, if you're paying attention. Biden won the state by nearly 20.7 thousand votes, so 20,700 votes. It asked the court to order the governor and the state's election commission to exclude swaths of absentee ballots which the campaign asserts are illegal. I guess any vote that isn't for him is illegal, I suppose. Frank, I haven't been paying a whole lot of attention to Wisconsin. I don't know if any of us are, but I'm almost at this point willing to bet he's already tried this. I'm going to say at least twice before, just in Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. We know he's tried it in Detroit, in Michigan, around the Detroit area. I think he's tried it in Wisconsin, if I recall correctly. at least twice, as you mentioned. Yeah, these are the same old tired, arguments, and now he's just appealing to a different audience, so to speak, based upon what the governor did, right? So he's going to try to say the governor did something wrong. We should go back and look at these things again. It's the last chance for us to get it right. I don't know what the end game here is. If it's just to keep stoking the base, I really don't know what to make of it anymore. What do you guys think?
Go ahead, Lou. You want to go? Or you want me to go?
Go ahead.
Yeah, he's busy looking something up. You know what, Frank? I don't know. And that's everything. Every time I think I'm completely convinced that this is just his he's getting in his one last grift, right?
Yeah.
Then he does something so fucking stupid where I sit there and say, you know what? He just can't accept the fact that he's being told no. Then I sit there and I think, well, maybe it is just a scheme to promote his new network that he's going to be coming up with, or his rallies that are coming up, right? Because he knows he has a small window there. Because the further away from the presidency he gets, the less relevant he becomes.
Right.
And I keep going around in this circle with these three things over and over and over again. And if I have to pick one, I mean, today, right now, I'm saying it's because he just can't stand the fact that he was told no. By the time we're done tonight, I may have changed my mind, though. Well, help me out.
You know what? Barr just listed a couple hours ago there was no election fraud, and saying there was, can't even admit there was any. Yet Rudy's still going on. The same thing in Wisconsin. I was just looking. They're trying to, Kelly and Parnell are trying to appeal to the Supreme Court with Barr just coming out with that statement. Do you think it'll even, well, we asked yesterday, but Frank wasn't here. Do you think the Supreme Court will even bother to hear it, since it was turned down for no evidence at every other court? Especially like we discussed with John Roberts, do you think he doesn't want that on his reputation if he's getting close to going out?
Frank, what do you think?
My guess is they don't want to touch it with a 10-foot pole. They know that anything they do at this point in time is unlikely to change the outcome, because you'd have to overturn so many different states to even have it matter. And I don't think there's grounds to, look at every state collectively. I think you'd have to look at them individually. And I think that they probably don't want to touch it. Given where everything has been and the reasoning that's been put out there by each of these judges below. And again, we're talking about different venues, different judges, different political backgrounds, different levels, state, federal, and they've all been looking at the same kind of stuff and saying it's garbage. So it's hard for me to think that the Supreme Court would want to step into this and try to overturn it piecemeal by piecemeal by piecemeal. It certainly would smack of extreme partisanism if they even did, try to take it on and look at it that way. So I think that it would shock the crap out of me if they looked at it. And to your point, Lou, and about Barr, now, of course, almost on cue, Trump is saying Barr is part of the deep state. He's in bed with the FBI, and he's part of the deep state, and he's out to get him too.
You almost knew it was going to happen before it happened, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, you knew it was coming. It wasn't an if. You were at this point. You're actually either impressed or disappointed in the length of time it took for him to do this.
Yeah.
Right. You're impressed whenever it happens right away. You're like, that fucker was just on his phone. That's all he did. He just hung out on his phone. Yeah. And then if it takes a while, you're like, man, he had one hell of a shit, or had to charge his phone or something. Right.
Yeah.
It's one or the other. He must have been eating. Staying on the legal end of this, two things. First one, Rudy's looking for a preemptive pardon, apparently.
Jeez, What he's innocent of everything. Why would he need a pardon?
Well, that's my question, right? I mean, where'd we have it? It was Business Insider, and then I want to say somebody else. Oh, then the Independent, and I'll read off of the Independent story because you guys know how I feel about the Independent. Rudy Giuliani, former New York City mayor, yada yada. Don't forget the Independent is a British tabloid. Is reported to have had discussions with the president about obtaining a pardon. The anonymous sources said it was not clear who broached the topic first, and it was not immediately clear if Mr. Trump would follow through on the request. There's no immediate details regarding crime Mr. Giuliani allegedly once pardoned. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Federal prosecutors were investigating him last summer for his involvement in the Ukraine business dealings that eventually led to Trump's impeachment. Giuliani's lawyer told the paper in a statement that he's quote not concerned about the investigation because he didn't do anything wrong, and it's been our position from day one. Frank, you deal with courts and clients like that a lot more than I do, but call me crazy, but if I was the subject of any kind of investigation, even if I know, honest to God, I did nothing wrong, I'd still be concerned.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing it out there. I'd still be a little worried.
Yeah, I mean, because you've got the full weight of the prosecutorial powers of the state or the federal government or whatever it is, and you're just one person trying to defend against that, and your resources are finite, and it's scary, So, but when we got this situation with Rudy, he's a lawyer, he's got some clout. It's rapidly eroding, except for with a very select few people, that clout, so to speak. Probably still has some money because he's been billing the crap out of the president and the office of the president. But again, that's a finite resource. As a client, as an attorney for a client, I'd be looking at this and saying, well, listen, you have to meet certain criteria. And what are how are you going to meet this criteria? Most importantly, what is the crime that you're admitting to be pardoned from? And I think that's where the hang-up's going to be in this situation. How legally binding or effective can a pardon be if we don't have a crime specifically you're pardoned from, and an admission or acknowledgement of wrongdoing?
Well, that's pretty much the question I was going to ask you next. I mean, I understand in theory that the mechanics involved in a preemptive pardon.
Yeah.
Okay. But can the pardon be? I don't care what you say. Rudy didn't do anything wrong, and if he did, that's it. He's off the hook. At some point, does not the pardon have to address a specific thing that he did? You can't just blanket these things, can you?
No, because what if, for example, somebody goes back, and I'm just hypothetically, obviously spitballing here. Let's say somebody goes back and finds out that he sexually assaulted somebody. I mean, look, he was in this movie pulling his pants up and reaching down his pants. Let's say that he, hypothetically, he sexually assaulted somebody. You give a blanket pardon. Is he pardoned from that act? From that intentional act of harming another individual physically? Because it's some blanket pardon for anything and everything that was done prior to January 20th, 2021. I mean, it's absurd. It's absolutely absurd. And I don't think that any court would uphold it, quite frankly. I mean, it's the same thing as saying that, Trump's tax returns are not accessible, or everything and anything that he does is under the blanket of the presidential cloak of not being able to be prosecuted. Well, he's got privilege, so to speak. Well, he doesn't have privilege over everything because the courts have already ruled that it didn't apply blanketly. They said to him, so you're telling me that if he just walked down the street and shot somebody that he'd have that privilege? And the courts laughed that off. They said, no way, no way. So the same thing with Rudy. I think that the courts, you can talk about this all you want as the president, as Rudy, and whatever. They like to make things up as they go, and then people pick up on it and try to pick up the ball and run with it. You know, the Charlie Kirks of the world and all these goofballs. But it's just the same thing as when they bring these cases in front of the courts right now. They're getting laughed out of court. When an actual judge listens to this and says, you pardoned them for what? Everything. From when? From forever and ad infinitum. Okay, good luck. We'll see you later. Go pound salt.
Lou, do you think maybe they're doing all these things in the hopes that, I mean, he has a drop dead date, right? January 20th.
Noon on the 20th, right?
That's his drop dead date. He's out. You know, the U-Haul trucks are going to be pulled up the night before, right? You think maybe he's trying to do this to extend that 20th, the date of the 20th, thinking that he can stay in there longer and longer and longer? The more he does this, the more it extends his time there, and thereby extending his protection. Because as long as he's in the White House, he's untouchable.
Well, how could he extend it though?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I'm not looking for logic here. I'm looking for trying to figure out a motivation.
Well, here, I just saw this today. I don't know if you knew this. When Benito Mussolini was voted out in 1943, do you know the day after his term ended, he still showed up for work like nothing happened? I did not know that.
I didn't either. But that's his role model, right? So maybe that's what he'll try to do.
I think he's going to do. He's going to show up on the 21st and be like, "Where's the vote?"
Do you think he has inside information that he and Ivanka's asses are grass on the 21st?
I'll be honest with you. I don't think he has any inside information. Well, he's not receiving any inside information that isn't trying to justify a narrative that he's playing out, or that he's trying to throw at the American people. You think I'm right with that, Frank?
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't even really have much to add to it because I think you're absolutely spot on.
I think that's the only information, intel, whatever you want to call it. You know, be a secret squirrel as you want. That's it. That's the only thing people are telling him, or anything that continues to support his narrative. That's it. Truth be damned. Right? Because let's face it, these guys there's nobody left. There's nobody left to tell him the truth. He got rid of them all.
As soon as somebody says anything that's anti, the cause or the belief that he has, he fires them.
Yeah. Case in point. And I got to be honest, I'm pretty proud of that segue.
Good one.
Christopher Krebs.
Yep.
Right? You knew that was coming, didn't you, Frank? Yeah, it was set up perfect, right? For folks who don't know, he was a former cybersecurity chief for the nation. He basically, his main goal basically was to make sure that the elections were secure. I don't know if anybody watched him on 60 Minutes Sunday night or not. If you didn't, shame on you, because it was a great interview. He was a big deal at before he got this job, and I don't know if it was immediately before, but at some point before. He was in charge for a lot of the, believe it or not, a lot of the systems, the security systems, the web security systems, the networking, the internet security systems at Microsoft. A lot of his stuff that he implemented, I'm studying right now. So it whatever the hell it was he was doing, it was damn good, because it's still there and they're still using it. And Microsoft is they're like Amazon and Google, right? They don't just do something for 10 years, right? These things are constantly evolving, and they're still using a lot of his shit. So the guy's brilliant. Anyhow, he during the interview was kind of touched upon, but not. They really didn't spotlight it. He was He was asked about one of Trump's campaign attorneys who said he should be shot. Right. I want to emphasize the word attorney in this, because this isn't some jackass apparently who didn't know any better, right? Well, he's one of Trump's attorneys, so maybe he didn't know any better. I don't know, but we're going to give him the benefit of the doubt here. So whenever he was interviewed today on NBC's Today Show, and those remarks were from that Joe DiGenova, right? That
Right.
asshole.
Yep.
Right. He's failing miserably too, isn't he? It was like every time he steps into a courtroom, he's getting thrown out. Whenever asked about this thing, his response was, "The way I look at it is that we are a nation of laws, and I plan to take advantage of those laws. I've got an exceptional team of lawyers that can win in court, and I think they're probably going to be busy." When he was pressed on whether comments such as DiGenova's could be met with legal action, Krebs replied, "We're taking a look at all of our available opportunities." What do you think, Frank? You think he can nail these guys?
You know, it's very it's really on the borderline what this guy said, DiGenova. He should be taken out, drawn and quartered and shot. Taken out at dawn and shot. I mean, he didn't say if he does something or when this happens, he should be shot. He's basically inciting violence against him. He said he should be shot. You know, in the climate that we're in today, I would say you're starting to really get close to this idea of yelling fire in a crowded theater, because, you know, we don't protect speech when it endangers people, when it endangers the public. So we know that we say you have freedom of speech, but you can't walk into a crowded theater with a couple exits and scream, "There's a fire," you know, because you're going to cause people to panic and people get run over and hurt. And the same thing here with this guy. We're in a climate of very, you know, short-fused people walking around with guns all over the place who have already shown a propensity to shoot. You know, they listen to these people as if they're their mouthpiece. So I'm not saying that it has crossed that line, but I'm just saying it's getting close to that line, very close to that line. So just the long answer to your question is, can he cause problems for these guys? Yeah, I mean, I think they're going to get hailed into court and answer questions. They're going to go through discovery. I don't think it's far-fetched to say that this has merit. Whether you win or lose on it, I don't know, but maybe the damage is done because you've got a valid claim to bring, and these guys got to go answer for it.
The fact that he's doing this against, not against, but it's an attorney that he's doing this against. Could he be facing repercussions as far as the bar, things like that are concerned?
Possibly, quite possibly. And I think that, yeah, I mean, I think you've got people who are going to say you have a higher standard as an attorney. You're sworn to protect protect your reputation, your client's reputation. And if you've got out there and you've done stuff and said stuff like this, how does that reflect upon the bar? How does it reflect upon the judiciary, the bench, the bar? How does it reflect upon your clients? I mean, it's supposed to be confidential, but people know who people's clients are, because if you filed anything in court, it's a matter of public record. So you may be harming your client's chances by doing stuff like this. Again, it's not a 1 + 1 = 2. It's a 1 + 1 + 1 is 3. We've got to go a couple extra steps. But the Bar Association doesn't want people out there harming the interest of their clients. That's one of the almost rule number one, so to speak, in just about every model rule of ethics out there. So to me, you might be able to get to that point, and it's just asking for trouble. You know, DiGenova is asking for trouble where he didn't need to.
You know, Lou, this seems to be a common theme of these guys going out on a limb and just doing just moronically stupid shit for no reason. We saw it again with that, you know, our state representative, you know, and the moron Kelly. You know, you touched on it earlier. This guy has no reason to be doing this shit. He's not in any danger of anything. He could literally sit back every day and not say a fucking word and have a damn good chance of being reelected. As good a chance as anybody anywhere could have. Why do it?
Who's he sucking up to? I mean, is he? I can figure it out because he's in a district to lose by his own volition.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not even what you could call, in my view, it leans Republican. It always has. It's a little closer now than what it was. I mean, like you said, why wouldn't he just sit back? Because also, wouldn't you think that would endanger his business that he has?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I mean, that's what I see. I don't see how there's anything that there's no moving forward by doing any of this, right?
Would you drive over Mike Kelly? What's he have? Kia. If you were buying a Kia, would you even consider going there?
Well, I wouldn't anyhow, but no, don't forget. I've seen this asshole in action. No, I wouldn't go. There's no way in hell he's getting my money.
I mean, see, he has, what do you have for years? Was it Ford or no? He had GM, General Motors. Okay, if I'm looking for a Chevy or GM truck, do you think I'm going to go there? I don't care if he's $500 less. If I'm taking out that big of a loan, I'm going to go to Sharon or something.
Yeah. There's no. That's Frank. That's the thing. I don't get it. He has nothing to gain by doing this. I mean, he can't even be, trying to jockey for a position someplace because the guy whose balls he's licking is on his way out. He's got 50 days left.
Yeah. He's gotten caught up in the whole idea that they were all invincible and untouchable and everything else. And he feels like he can say whatever he wants to say. He's failed to read the pulse of what's going on, which is surprising. It's absolutely surprising. And I think that, a person like him will pay the price. And it leads me to kind of the next thought. There's players out there in politics who are able to deflect and defer and do the gaslighting. Because I guarantee you, at what point do you guys think? It's not going to happen with a guy like DeGenova because you got to rely upon private world business. And that's what you guys are so accurately describing the impact of that for him. But at what point do these career politicians like Peter King comes to mind quickly? Peter King, or whatever his name is, the guy that's the senator up in New York, King. Yeah. He's rolled with the punches so many times. Like he used to be such a big, Bush guy. And when we went into Iraq, he was saying, we have absolute proof that we got to be in there. And then as soon as it found out there was no proof, then it's like, oh, that was terrible. We've done that. Listen to Trump. He's the guy that said we should have never gone into Iraq and Afghanistan. And, these deep state people like Bush, I was never with them. And, he tried to out Valerie Plame later. And, he changes his tune all the time, right? How long before a guy like King and others start gaslighting the public and saying, no, we were never behind Trump. We just, the tax cuts were important for America. That's what we were for. But all this other garbage, we never supported that. We never supported his, madman rantings. We worked behind the scenes to make sure that was put under. And you got to trust me. I made sure the country was taken care of when he was in office. We protected you from that madman. How long till you start saying that kind of stuff?
About 52 days.
Mitch McConnell's going to be the first one. McConnell will be the first. Oh, you know what? You know when it'll happen? I'll tell you when it'll happen. As soon as one of these assholes go to jail. That's when it'll happen. Or at least they get they get charges and the charges aren't thrown out. There's a court date. That's when you'll see.
I got another one for you. How about when the inevitable? I pray it doesn't happen. I really genuinely do. But let's say a member of Congress, whether it's the House of Representatives or the Senate, either themselves or their family member dies of COVID.
Yeah. I always said that about the school shootings, right? When these assholes will get on board whenever one of these senators' kids are killed. Then you'll see these assholes change their tune. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, that might happen. Yeah. And believe it or not, with 100 of these fuckers, it's amazing it hasn't happened yet. I mean, statistically, they're The law of averages is now working against them. They
Yeah, what's their average age? About 75?
yeah,
Well, maybe not 75, but it's
up there.
there.
Yeah, it's up there where you have a weakened immune system.
Yeah. And there's the long-term effects, like, Lou's always talked about too, that we don't know yet. And some of these guys that have contracted it, and then, a year from now or 2 years from now, something gives out, something happens.
Right, it's lungs and heart. I'm hearing all over the place.
Yeah.
People who made their way through this, who had it and recovered, heart and lungs, they're having issues now.
Yep.
There's two things you really don't want to lose real quick.
No.
There's not a whole lot you can do about those.
And something I've been seeing that they've been tracking all this is it's a higher percentage than what you think for long term.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt. And I've also said I refuse to believe different. That if anything, the cases and the deaths and everything associated with this is if anything, it's being underreported.
I'd say 20%.
Yeah.
And the only reason, think of in a small town, and I check the obituaries just to see, every day, and that total's been up for the last 6 above normal. I know we live in an old community, but still, you wonder how many of them died from it or had the after effects and not listed as such.
Let me, since we're on this topic, and we're on the topic of our own community, let me read you this. I'm not going to tell the person's name because I don't have her permission, but she's a nurse locally in Lawrence County. She says, for all you scamdemic, non-mask wearing people, this is a public service announcement. Area hospitals are full of COVID. What does this mean? If you have a medical emergency, stroke, aneurysm, or trauma, be aware there are probably 0 ventilators to help you. If you or someone you know has not been affected by COVID yet, just wait. Like I've been saying from the beginning, this is like a hurricane, and we haven't even been to the eye of the storm yet. So do me and the medical community a favor. Wash your hands, wear a mask, stay in your house. Positivity of testing right now is 4 out of every 10 people, and it's going to get worse from the Thanksgiving get-togethers. I really wish you guys were right this whole time, but I hate to say, I told you so.
St. Elizabeth, the Monday before Thanksgiving, had 3 units filled with COVID patients. Yesterday, they were up to 5 full units. They are now starting to double up people that have COVID in COVID rooms instead of 1. They're going to 2, trying to get space. 158 of their people are off right now with COVID itself, and another 120 staff are off because they're waiting for testing. That's in St. Elizabeth, okay? It's a bigger hospital than Jameson, but that's a lot of staff.
That's a shit ton of staff.
Okay. I just saw scroll across E3 reported. My daughter said today that the line on Wilmington Road to the urgent care was longer than she's ever seen in the last 2 weeks, out onto the road and down.
Frank,
waiting to get in.
Frank, a mutual friend of ours, yours and mine. In fact, I introduced you to him. His father's on a respirator now, or a ventilator with it. He brought it home. His father's on the respirator. His mother's infected. He was taking a test today. I haven't talked to him to see how he's doing. But he's stuck in his parents' house. Can't go home to his wife. Can't do anything. Only simply because, well, as he put it, and I'm paraphrasing, his father was a MAGA. It still is. Didn't believe in either. Now they're all suffering. He's pretty, and his parents. I mean, he graduated. He's 2 years older than I am.
Yeah.
His parents are in their 80s, right?
Yeah.
Or damn near. I'm telling you, he's going to lose one of them.
Well, I pray that he doesn't. I pray that somehow there's a chance that there's recovery. But it's scary when you're on the breathing assistance, whether it's a ventilator or a respirator, either one of those things is certainly worrisome. But obviously, I feel for the person and I feel for his parents, regardless of their political leanings. And
Terrible.
yeah, it's just awful.
It's there, and I love. I mean, they're they're a great family. I love them to death, and it's killing me that and this is right up the street from me, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, it's awful, and these folks still refuse to believe it. They still refuse to believe, and I argued today. I said, dude. It wasn't him. It was another person. I said, "Dude, and I showed him the text. Right? I said, "Look, this is somebody who's not even on my side. He's on your side of this thing, and he's telling you what the problem is. And still, you're more willing to listen to some asshole on YouTube than you are somebody who you've been with, you worked with, you understand, you drank with him. You passed out with the guy." But yet you still believe somebody else instead of what's right in front of you. We're fucked. All right? Well, if that's the mentality that these folks are going to have, and this is how they're going to look at things, we're screwed. We're screwed. We're never going to get over this. You might as well get used to people dying all around you left and right.
My parents were just out over the weekend, just after the Thanksgiving weekend. It was Thanksgiving weekend after Thursday. They went out to the Cheese House. You know where the Cheese House is in Wilmington, right?
Yep.
Love to go there and get the European stuff that, sometimes you can't find other places.
Yep. Yeah, I could spend an obscene amount of money there.
Yeah, love their stuff.
Yep.
However, my mom starts to walk in the door. As she's walking in, she sees something she really likes. She picks it up, starts to walk in 2 more steps, and she sees everybody in the place, just about the whole place, not wearing masks. So she looks at my dad and says, "Oh, no. We're not going in here." So she sets it down. And she, my mom versus my dad. My dad's the loud one. Okay. My mom's quiet. But my mom couldn't help herself. And she looks and she says, "Well, I was going to buy this, but since nobody's wearing a mask, I'm not. I'm leaving." She turns around and starts to walk out. And a young kid, she said in his 20s, wearing no mask, walks right by the two of them and says, "It's all a hoax anyway." And my mother says, "A hoax?" She says, "There's people dying from this." And he says, "People die every day." And my dad says, "With that attitude, you're going to die someday soon too."
Yeah, your dad would. That's exactly what he would say. Yeah.
But it's funny. It's definitely funny because we know that my dad would say that. But it's also sad that here in our community we have, people that in a business that's not enforcing that, which is a business that I enjoy going to. You enjoy going to, and it's a shame that they're putting people at risk for what? For what reason? All you have to do is wear a mask. All you have to do is say, let's implement basic measures like, Giant Eagle, Walmart, everybody else has done. I know that Walmart's crazy, but, the Giant Eagle and a lot of other shops have done. You still keep your business open. You still got people coming in and out. Why?
Yeah, I don't get it. It's not like you're going to attract more people. You're in a Cheese House, for fuck's sake. It's not like, I have to get gas, but these places want me to wear a mask, so I guess I'll go to the Cheese House.
So if you're on the front line right now and you're getting to the point where there's no more ventilators, if you're a doctor or nurse, do you want that on you, who you're going to pick to get the ventilator or not?
I don't want it.
I mean, think of the stress on a healthcare worker in that position.
Yeah. And how long before they're going to start needing help?
And you talk about PTSD.
If not already. You're already starting to hear people talk about, I had to hold her hand, while they died because their family couldn't be around. You're already hearing that.
There's one of the therapists my wife worked with that retired in July. They talked her into coming back per diem because they're losing so many people at the hospital to COVID. And she basically wrote her own ticket for part-time just to help out.
You know what? If I was in that position, and I hate to say it because I'm going to sound like a total asshole, but you guys know me, I'm an asshole. Uh, if I was in that position, what you would have to be paying me would be insane.
Yeah.
It really would. I mean, call me an ass if you want, but yeah, it would have to be insane. And if you're willing to do it, I'll take it. But boy, it's going to be really high.
Well, you know what? You got to think that coming back in, you're risking your own health.
Yeah, that's why.
Hazard pay.
Yeah, that's why. It's no other reason. But what am I going to do? I got to, it's not like I'm living alone,
Right.
right? And even if I was, I still have family here. What am I not going to visit them? Am I not going to see them? Right. So how long do I not see them now? So yeah, you better compensate me for all that.
Yeah.
It would be high. It really would.
Yeah, and it's not like you're asking them to pay an exorbitant price for PPE or for the actual equipment. You're saying, for me putting myself in harm's way and my family's in harm's way, I'm asking you to compensate me appropriately for that hazard pay, and that's fair, and that's capitalism, but it's not price gouging. You're asking for your hazard pay, and I think that's fair. So, and I'd like to see anybody argue against it. That's a Republican or a MAGA or whatever, because that's true capitalism right there. That's true market saying, I have a skill. The skill you want is in need. And not only do you need it, but I'm putting myself in harm's way to provide it for you. So pretty compelling.
Extremely compelling. Breaking right now, Manhattan absentee/affidavit ballots just added. Biden 225,000 and some change, Trump 20,000 and some change. Biden's national popular vote lead climbs to 6.55 million, roughly 4.2%.
6.5 million.
Yeah, 6.5 million. That was well. Let me rephrase that. Yeah. Well, that's still right. I'm sorry. I apologize. Same thing. I guess, Frank, maybe I was wrong. Maybe this guy just is one of those folks who just likes pain. He gets off on being hurt because he keeps wanting more and more of it.
He's still being talked about.
Yeah. Right.
Still on everybody's lips.
Well, that's the thing. He could just walk out of the White House tomorrow, and we're still going to talk about it for the rest of our life. The impact that he's had and the damage that he's done, we're going to be talking about him for years. We'll be in our 70s and still be talking about this guy. The shit he's done. Barr says there's no widespread fraud. That's hard to do. And on Q, like you guys said, his legal team comments on voter fraud. The comment is, quote, with all due respect to the Attorney General, there hasn't been any semblance of a Department of Justice investigation. We have gathered ample evidence of illegal voting in at least 6 states, which they have not examined. We have many witnesses swearing under oath that they saw crimes being committed in connection with voter fraud. I just want you guys to just kind of keep count of all the bullshit things you're hearing. As far as we know, not a single one has been interviewed by the DOJ. The Justice Department also hasn't audited any voting machines or used their subpoena powers to determine the truth. Nonetheless, we will continue our pursuit of the truth through the judicial system and state legislatures and continue toward the Constitution's mandate and ensuring that every legal vote is counted and every illegal vote is not. Again, with the greatest respect to the Attorney General, his opinion appears to be without knowledge or investigation of the substantial irregularities and evidence of systematic fraud. Of course, signed by Rudy Giuliani, attorney for President Trump, and Jenna Ellis, Trump campaign senior legal advisor and attorney for President Trump. Remember how we asked earlier about Rudy wanted to get pardoned? I think we're going to start seeing it pretty soon. We'll start. Better question for you. Is Barr starting to turn around a little bit because he knows this shit's over and he's trying to hedge his bet now and see if he can get off on because in order for him to turn on Trump, he's got to have some state shit coming his way, or he'd be looking for a pardon too. Or do you think he's just a piece of shit? I don't know. What do you think, Frank?
Well, it was a surprise to me. I thought he could have kept his mouth shut and not stuck his neck out there against Trump, and still kind of been in the same position. But I think he's actively now looking at how he's going to rehabilitate his image, because I think he's seen the writing on the wall up until like last week, when things started to really certify in the big states. When the recounts are coming back in Georgia in favor of Biden, when all the avenues to a comeback in Pennsylvania have basically been shut down. In Michigan, they've been shut down. And now you're looking at Wisconsin. I mean, other than a straight up coup, there is no way Trump and his people stay in power. So Barr sees that and says, okay, I had the respect of this community. I had the respect of the broader legal community and the Republicans at one point in time. And we start to talk about this plausible deniability again. When does he jump on that? Well, it's looking like the beginning of that is him jumping on it right now. And he's going to go back to his cronies and his friends in the Republican Party and say, look, I deserve another shot. I'm a good legal mind. I'm a good legal scholar. Give me a shot to do the right thing. I defended our Constitution when it was crunch time. And I think that's his way of trying to put himself in that position. I can tell you, if I was any of the folks with decision-making ability, none of that would matter to me, because I would say, listen, it don't matter. What you said at that point in time wasn't going to make a hill of beans of difference. Your guy was going down. You didn't stick your neck out there for anybody. So, but I'm sure he's going to try his best to use that to his advantage.
Well, you think he's looking for a way out because he knows he's fucked?
I think so. And if anybody should be disbarred, it should be him. That's supposed to be supposedly a nonpartisan office. I mean, they're going to lean one way or the other a little bit, but you're there to protect the rule of law. Even asshole Jeff Sessions recused himself.
Yeah, and you know how bad it has to be for that asshole to do it. I mean, the guy who was all about putting the kids in cages. Even he knew it was time to say, oh no, this even I can't do this shit. Kids, that's one thing. This is something else. Shit. I think he's starting to play both ends. I really do. I think he's starting to play both sides. CDC vaccine advisors vote to recommend that healthcare staff and long-term care facility residents get COVID-19 vaccine first. Before anybody else sits there and says no shit. Well, what do you think? Does that really come as a shock to anybody? That this is what this is the hierarchy that they're going to go with. Frank?
No, I think it makes a lot of sense. You got to protect that. You got to protect that front. If you're going to do that, then you're giving everybody else a better chance in the long run. So it makes sense. But I think that the numbers that are out there in terms of available vaccine, it should go pretty quickly to the rest of the public.
I would assuming that you have the amount of vaccine available, right? Yeah. You can only distribute as much as you have. But Lou, I agree. I think that it was obviously these were going to be your first choices, right? But I agree too. I think that once this thing gets rolling, it's going to go pretty quick.
Because you basically have 3 companies making it now?
Yeah, and they're all going to be a little different, I'm sure, but the end result's the same. If you're looking at 95 to 98% effective rate, do you really care which one you get? Does it really matter? It's like whichever one's at CBS, it's the one I'm going to.
And you think anybody with the capability to manufacture that, whether it's yours or not, I mean, shouldn't you say, just like the war powers or whatever, guess what you're going to be making?
I guess what you guys are going to be doing.
Yeah.
If I'm not mistaken, whenever you get your flu shot, that's not all coming from one pharmaceutical, is it? I mean, it's just whoever has a contract with whatever distributor, and for example, Rite Aid that might be distributing something that is from a different manufacturer than CVS is, but
Yeah.
it in essence, it's still the same shit. It's just it's just different guys doing it because they figured out how to predict the strains now. So does it really matter to you, Frank, if it's Pfizer's or anybody else's that you get?
Only out of the selfishness that I own Pfizer stock that I've told you guys already, and I've disclosed that. But other than that, no. I mean, the bottom line is, if they're all that effective, I have no problem with it. And the delivery model that is out there, I think, in terms of, I think Moderna and AstraZeneca, if I'm correct, those are the other two. And I may not be correct about the third one, but I know Moderna is one of them. If the delivery model for those two is that you don't have to keep it as cold as the Pfizer model, then that's going to be available to more of the population, and great. I think that as long as we knock this thing out, I don't care who does it and who sends it around. I mean,
No.
Certainly, I hope that the people that worked hard on putting this out there, that they get some due for it, but they don't need to be, again, we don't need to be gouging people. This is the public health. It needs to be protected, and we need to make it widely available for those that need it, want it, have to have it. Absolutely. So those people that are going to go first, we talked about, and then maybe elderly and people that are more at risk, and people with compromised immune systems and whatever else. As they make it available, I don't care who it is. Quite frankly.
I'll be honest, I don't either. I don't think that. Well, you made a good point though, Frank. Whoever can really get it out to the most people the quickest is probably the one that's going to be the most popular. For lack of a better term. Are we? Am I right in saying that there's at least two different types of delivery models though? Or is it all just a shot?
No, there's shot, but
They're all
one
shot.
has to be kept colder.
Yeah, well, they may be able to change that too once they start wrapping this thing up. Do we know if this thing is going to be free of charge or a minor couple bucks to? Basically, is everybody, even like the poorest people on the planet, going to be able to afford this?
I think so. I think that the price point that they're talking about was between like $9 and $11, and I know that when you do that, then you're probably going to have places that will supplement, and some of the like Pfizer and Moderna and AstraZeneca will probably give so many of them away too, so that clinics and hospitals can just give them away without cost to people that can't afford them. I think that it's going to be accessible in that sense. I do believe that.
And do we know? And I cannot believe I've never asked this question or even thought of it until right now. Is this a one and done thing, or is this something we're gonna have to do every year, like the flu shot?
I heard it was 2 rounds to begin with.
Yeah, but then
Would it be like, you're right, like the flu shot? I had one this year, but it's what, a 50-50 proposition? Depending on how it mutates?
yeah, but I mean, is it something that we're gonna have to do every year with this thing, or is it something like measles? Once you get the shot, you're done. I don't know either. I don't know if anybody's ever said that so or not. I haven't heard anything. Did you, Frank? Have you heard anything?
I've heard rumblings, and none of it's actually verified. So I can't, what I've heard rumblings about, and just take this as a big, more than a grain of salt, a chunk of salt, is that you may have to have these repeated year on year until they figure out, how to identify, enough of the strains and mutations, but you know, we're already talking about 90-something% effectiveness against coronavirus the way we've identified it at this point in time. So, I mean, that leaves 8 to 10% or 5%, depending on which numbers you're looking at. That's still significant, okay? So I think that you've got to look at the possibility that we might have some variations and mutations that have to be addressed and cleaned up. But I don't know that it's going to be, from what I'm hearing, that it's going to be, you know, 20 years, 10 years. It might just be, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 years of this vaccination, and then we might be done with this. But again, this is all just really,
yeah, lots and lots of speculation.
yeah.
It'd be interesting to keep an eye on it though, to find out just exactly how they're going to do this. Because you figure this is the hardest part right now, right? It's just once they get this part down, being able to change that formula to address mutations is going to be, you know, all they have to do is figure out how it's going to mutate, or you know, be able to reasonably predict how it's going to mutate. And then that's that. Game over. Okay, guys, good place to end it. Anything
real quick before here? Yeah, I want to add this. I mean, I've told you guys before, not you, but our audience, both you and our audience, that Pfizer, you know, I think it's now it's like $39 a share. It's still screaming buy. If you like stocks that that give dividends and then reinvest the dividends, Pfizer does that. So if they, you know, start distributing this thing at $10, $11 a pop to everybody and twice to everybody, you know, you can see the numbers are going to be there. But even more important than that, we've talked about this other thing that's called XLM, Stellar Lumens. If you've watched Bitcoin recently, Bitcoin went from $8,000 per one Bitcoin about 2 months ago to 19,000 something per Bitcoin right now. Now, that's hard for anybody to go buy one Bitcoin at $19,000. You don't have to, you can buy a share of it. But Bitcoin's probably going to go to 50,000 at some point in maybe the next couple of years. XLM is something I told you guys about. It's Stellar Lumens. It is something that IBM uses to do a quick translation of, you know, rupees into dollars, euros into yen, whatever. They do it quickly. They use this altcoin, and the calculation is done in microseconds. Whereas Bitcoin, you have to do calculations. It takes days, hours, minutes, whatever, to do a transaction. And they're selling things with Bitcoin online, yes. But XLM was, when I told you about it first, it was around 89, 90 cents per share, per one XLM. It's now $1.76, $1.86 or something. So it's doubled since then, okay? But you're still talking about $1.86 in this booming new cryptocurrency thing. So if you want to go out and buy, you know, a couple hundred of these things, 200 or 300, it's only going to cost you, you know, $400 if you buy 200 of them. And if you'd bought 400 back then, you're now at you're sitting on 800. I'm just telling you that this is something that it's the wave of the future. Banks are starting to look into cryptocurrency now more. They're adding it to their portfolios. They're adding it to the way they do business. PayPal just did a thing called Zoom. It's XOOM, where you can put money in your foreign bank accounts or send it to a foreign account for so much cheaper than we used to be able to do. My last little tip is XLM, guys. Take a look at it.
What did you say it was going to share?
I think it's $1.86 or something per one XLM right now, for one
So
Stellar.
what the heck? Which one am I looking at? This is 18 cents.
Let's take a look. Because I just checked mine today. It doubled from when I bought it.
Well, didn't you say there was two of them and it was really easy?
I'm sorry. I bought it at 9 cents. It's up to 18 cents. Yeah. I bought it at 9 cents, up to 18 cents. Yeah.
What's that? Where do you buy that at?
Let's see. Coinbase. Go to Coinbase.
Yeah. All I know is Freight Car America went back down to one. I bought it at 160 and it's now 251.
Yeah, I know. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to Coinbase. You can also buy cryptocurrency on PayPal now, but Coinbase is probably the safest place to buy it. You'll pay a small commission. I don't own any Coinbase, so it's not going to pay me anything.
So you can buy it cheap then, like $100 just for the bet?
Yeah, so 19 cents, you could buy $100 worth, and that's going to get you what?
5,000 shares.
Something like that. Yeah.
Well, now, there's an idea, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're betting $100 on us, who's going to make the Super Bowl?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll bet on that. Okay, guys. We will be back on Friday. Same bad time, same bad channel. Don't want to hold everybody up. They're already a couple minutes late. I wish the hell the guys would get done. Assholes. Anyhow, thank you all for watching us. Again, thank you for joining us. We will be back Friday. Until then, goodbye, good luck, and God bless. We'll see everybody.